Welcome everybody to DAT Poker Podcast, episode 124 for May 26, 2022. I'm your host, A. Schwartz, alongside Roscoe P. Coltrane.
Hi, nice to be on your show again.
And A. Kessler, love it. T. Chan, how are you, sir?
I'm doing okay. I'm a little bummed because I won't be joining Chainsaw and everybody else at the World Series of Poker this year. Be the first time I have missed a World Series of Poker since it was held at Binion, since I was like 22 years old was the last time that I didn't play at least one event. So I will have to live vicariously through DNEGs and all of our listeners at that Poker Pod. We'll miss you guys at the Bally's/Paris. So tweet me all your stories about how bad the parking is. Tweet me anything about difficulties with getting food.
You want to hear the bad parts. You don't want to hear the good parts.
Yeah, if you're stuck real bad, let me know. And if you're having a great time, then just come at somebody else.
If it's a money thing, I think we can all pitch in 100 and get you in the $500 tournament.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the thing is that it's all in Luna. I mean, I have money. It's just all in Luna.
And Daniel Negreanu, Las Vegas, Nevada, in his lair of, what's that, the Scrooge McDuck lair you've got going there again. What's going on?
A lot of this. So you see this, if you're listening and you can't see this is me twiddling my thumbs. And that's what I've been doing the last week. This has been, I know people are going to think I'm nuts, but this has been one of the most difficult weeks for me because normally I'd be golfing or doing stuff or whatever, like to fill the time. But I'm just so anxious to play. So like the only thing I have going for me is my wife, Amanda, is heavily invested in Justice for Johnny Depp. So she has me watching all the court cases. I watch the breakdowns and I've become a quasi-expert on the topic as a result.
Should we start a second podcast?
Now I'm like I'm so deeply invested in this trial, more so than a human should probably be. But I actually, and a lot of people are like, well, what do you care? He's a white, rich fucking celebrity. I'm like, precisely. No, I'm just kidding.
This could go sideways at any point. So let's just quickly mention off the top that all this stuff, we're excited for the World Series. There's some distractions, I think, that help a lot of us in shitty times like this. I think we're all sort of bummed out over the last week, I'm sure, and we're not going to talk about it. It's not our place at the moment. This is a poker podcast, but I think just to acknowledge that this kind of stuff takes your mind off, some of the bigger issues out there for sure. It is Christmas Eve for poker players. We're 5 days away from the kickoff event one, always the casino employees events, although it's nebulous in what that actually means because inevitably poker players find their way into the casino employees event. Yeah, Terrence has played it because he was remotely affiliated with an online site at some point. I'm sure, Daniel, you probably could play in it, but don't. And I played in it as well. It's the kickoff. And also, not just that, the casino employees is on the first day, but also on the first day of the World Series. This is the 53rd annual 2022 version. The 100K is right out of the blocks on day one. Daniel, countdown is really that, right? I mean, you're 5 days out. That's your first event, and you're going to fly out winning this Player of the Year championship.
Kind of, but I also wanted to note that this isn't just a 100K. This, for the first time ever, I don't believe we've ever had in the history of poker anything higher than a 10K buy-in with a bounty aspect, right? I don't even think there's been a 25K. This is a 100K where if you knock out a player, you win 25,000. So you knock out 4 people and you don't even make the money, you're going to break even in that. But yes, absolutely, that is the first actual event on the docket, but it's really not the first event for me, and I know we'll get to it, but the night before in the PokerGO studio, it will be on YouTube for those of you interested in sweating the draft. We will have the World Series, the 25K World Series draft. It will be the largest ever. Like my interest list so far of people who said they're going to come, I'm predicting 16 teams, which means you're going to have to dig deep. Like you're going to have to maybe somebody's going to send a plane for Terrence Chan to play 4 limit hold'em events and see if he's more value pick for $1.
The 25K, yeah, we'll definitely get into it. There's some issues around that and some fun stuff to talk about there. But yeah, the World Series on the doorstep here. Saw that you were selling pieces on Pocket Fives at no markup. What's the so you've done that? You've sold out, I'm sure, really quickly. How many events are you selling? What's the thought process there?
Okay, so what we did was we did what we did in previous years, which we gave people a chance to ride the entire package. So there was a piece like dedicated for that, and that did sell out already. So womp womp. But for those of you that watch the vlog daily, you will be able to buy pieces daily on Pocket Fives, probably around 10 a.m. Pacific-ish. I'm not sure exactly when they'll release them. But what I've decided to do this year, just from an ease perspective, is like limit those to 5K or above. Because when you're talking about like if I do play a 1500, first of all, I'm going to late reg, max late reg mostly. Or speaking of Mike Matusow, you got to eliminate max late reg, max late reg. So like have late reg, but don't allow people to max late reg. Wrap your head around that one, right? Yeah. So we're going to do 5K and above.
It was interesting. So Joey Ingram tweeted out, "Hey, what's your tips for players here coming out of the World Series?" And Dan Smith tweeted that he said, "Don't waste your time in marginal EV spots." And I think that's something that probably resonated with you, Daniel. You talked about late regging those 1500s and not sort of worrying too much about that, and spending more of your time being there on time for the big buy-ins.
I responded to that tweet because it is on point for me. Like, so what I've had to do mentally is sometimes I'm there or like I'm home and there's a 1500 and I'm like, I could show up now. And it's like 3 o'clock. But like, I have to force myself to not do that. Right? Sounds crazy. Like, why wouldn't you play? You're on time. Because inevitably what will happen is a couple hours in, I'm like, what the fuck am I doing here right now? You know what I mean? And then spending all that time getting tired, exhausted in a 1500 Omaha 8 event, which is going to take 3-4 days to cash, exhausts me for like buying into a 50K PLO with 2 rebuys. You know what I mean? Like, so it's a long stretch, 6-7 weeks. I'm going to be playing daily pretty much. So it makes more sense if I only have a certain amount of hours that make sense for my brain to be functioning at a high level, not to waste any. So I don't even max late reg though. Like I'm trying, but I always give myself like a couple hours before max late reg. But I think this year, if actually I may, because there's so many more big events this year, right? I looked at the schedule. There might be 2 days in the first week that I don't play anything, depending how I'm doing in other events. Because we got like the 25K heads up. So I don't want to play the 1500 Omaha 8 the day before and miss that because I've been playing a lot of heads up. And then there's like another one a couple days later, a 25K no limit hold'em, where I would have to like not play the. So there's like I don't know, but anyway, I'm going to be paying a lot less attention on quantity and a lot more on quality in the high buy-ins because this year is unique, right? We've never seen a schedule like this with so many buy-ins above 10K.
Terrence, you mentioned that you've been to the World Series for decades, and that tweet sort of got me thinking about what were some of the, we've been around for a while and gone through the ringer with the World Series through the decades, and just what would your sort of ideas for players who maybe have only done it once or twice to really get the most out of it? What's your take on that one?
I'm super glad you asked because, I wanted to point out, I think Dan Smith and Daniel just, that's great advice for the pros who are grinding it out. It's true. But there's going to be guys who are coming down there for maybe 2-3 events and they want every minute of that experience. They're going to show up at 3 p.m. for a 3 p.m. tournament, 11 a.m. for an 11 a.m. tournament. And by all means, if you're down there to capture that experience, then go do that because it's super fun. And it's, if it's your first time going to the World Series, it's, I envy you because that's such a feeling that you'll sort of never have again. It's so much fun to be down there. And if you're fortunate enough to make a run, then even better still. But just enjoying every moment and don't be afraid to ask questions of people at your table who have obviously been around. This year you're going to have back at the Rio, you had everybody who knew, where's the shortest bathroom line? Where's the best place to get food? Where's all the stuff? All the stuff. Now everybody's sort of going to be on the same playing field for at least a week or so until everybody knows. But don't be afraid to ask, what's going on. If you're not a super experienced poker player, just ask questions. Don't be shy. Feel free to grab anybody who's wearing a suit who happens to be walking by. They can almost certainly answer your question. Just enjoy your experience because the World Series is meant to be fun. It does not exist if not for the people who are just out there and come to have fun. These are the people who keep the lights on. So just go down there, have a real great time. And, like I said, maybe I'm getting a bit soft and nostalgic because I don't get to go this year, but I hope everybody who's going down there for either the first time or even just occasionally is just has a super awesome time, because it is super fun and super special, even after having gone for 20 straight years to go to the World Series.
Yeah, and I think what I would add to that is try and be a little social at the table, right? Like, everybody's there. Generally you're not going to know anybody at your table. I'm talking about the 90% of the people who are going down to play 1500s, 500s. Enjoy the experience, like you said, Terrence, and talk to your table mates and find out where they're from and do all that. Because sitting there staring at the board, like, you could do that in anywhere, and everybody's there to enjoy the World Series. It's a big thing for all poker players. So that's what I would add to it for sure. Just enjoy yourself as much as you can and get to know some people for sure. Let's talk about PokerGO, because they are going to, again, broadcast, live stream 21 events over the World Series, the main event as well, daily. And also the PokerGO podcast with Remco and Donnie are going to go 5 days a week. They're going to go Monday to Friday, and then also every day during the main event. So they're going to do daily recaps of what's happened, some of the stories, what's going on. If you want to keep up with the World Series each day, it's not a super long podcast. I want to say it's a half hour, 45 minutes, but they'll get you caught up in everything that's going on. We're going to keep on doing stuff, weekly, but if you want to hear daily stuff, for sure, head on over to the PokerGO podcast, and looking forward to the live streaming of it. And to kick things off, to Daniel's point about having the 25K fantasy, is this the first time it's been live streamed, the 25K, or did I miss it years before, Daniel?
No, we've live streamed it many times. Mostly we have some sort of stream going. Usually someone volunteers, whether it's Poker News or somebody like that. This year it's going to be schnazzy. It's going to be fancy schmancy, because we're doing it in the studio. We're going to have a nice setup with, chairs and tables. I mean, obviously I foot the bill for a lot of this, but they're doing this. I believe it's going to be available on the PokerGO YouTube channel. And like I said, it's going to be a longer one this year. So it starts at 6 p.m. and you're looking at, well, normally it's like 3 to 4 hours. I think this year we're looking at, 5+ hours to finish.
So to recap, it's an auction event. Everybody starts with X amount of dollars. Give us the format.
Yeah, the way that it works is you get, so basically 25,000 enter, and then you can nominate any player you want, and it does not exclude you. It doesn't have to be male, female, not based on race or gender. Literally any person you want to bid on, you throw it out. You throw out a name, Terrence Chan for $3. Okay, of your 200, someone says 4. It's an auction style. The highest bidder gets them. You must fill 8 slots, and at least $1 per bid on each one. And then there is a simple point system throughout the World Series of Poker that includes all open events, so not the employees event or the ladies event and the seniors, as well as this year there will not be the tag team, because I found that one to be kind of a shit show, where people were just manipulating the tag team, where it's like, oh, you're on my fantasy team, you're not going to play, but like play one hand and you can get the points. So I don't want to see stuff like that, so we won't count that. But yeah, it's a lot of fun, because there's a lot of different strategies. For those of you guys that play fantasy sports, you already know, like, auction wise, you can go a couple ways. You can say, all right, I'm going to go after the big guns, a couple of those, but they're going to cost you like your whole bankroll, and then fill the rest of your team with $1 players. Or you could say, you know what, I'm going to keep my money and try to have a well-balanced team of 8, right? So it'll be interesting to see with 16 teams what the prices look like, and the different strategies going in.
It seems to me, if you're a guy who has a good handle on those $1 guys, that your strategy probably would be go after the guys who are going to play high volume, the guys that are there, yourself, Daniel, at the top of those leaderboards year after year. And you've got a bunch of these $1 guys in your pocket that maybe not everybody else knows, and you can get them late. So it's that research factor, right? And
well, but here's the thing, right? You might think you have $1 players in your pocket, right? But then push comes to shove, you bid $1 and someone says 2. And you're like, oh no, right? So like it's going to be even more difficult this year, especially because there's so many more players being hit, to find any like real amazing hidden gems for $1. Especially too because there's different groups of people that'll be there, right? You have Europeans, you have different people. So if a Benny Glaza, I call him Benicio. He hates that, so that's why I do it. Benicio Glazer, if he's there, and he bids on somebody like Michael Adamo, well, that gives information to the rest of the people that he's probably playing. So now, so it's very difficult to slide one through.
Right.
But I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try with a couple this year.
Got a couple in your pocket? That's good.
I don't know if I do, but I'm hopeful.
So there was some Twitter discussion about maybe it's an idea to include, have everybody pick at least one female to be on your team. And that started a whole bunch of discussion about, is it appropriate? Should it be doing? And yeah, I mean, there's all kinds of rules and regulations regarding hiring and doing this, but this is a pool. And yeah, I understand the fact that you're adding a variable in there that takes research. Oh, which females are going to play, or which Europeans are going to play, or however you want to, stipulate one spot that would mandatory. You'd have to take it, Canadian, whatever you want to do. You'd have to do a bunch more. It adds another level of depth or difficulty to this auction process. And Daniel, your point I think was it's difficult enough trying to get people in this thing rather than make it more difficult.
So I came up with this idea several years ago, a couple. One was maybe possibly having a slot for a woman. And the other idea I had before there was so much no limit hold'em prevalent was like you pick one player for no limit hold'em events and they get bonus points or something like that, right? Just thoughts of like how to expand it. When I broached this subject, it was clear to me that the people who play this, many of them already feel like they're at a disadvantage because they don't have time to put in all the work and know all the nooks and crannies of every player. The more you complicate it, right, the more likely you end up with people saying, you know what, I can't do it. The issue with the woman thing was there might be 16 teams this year. There are going to be owners in this thing that don't know 5. Like they can't name 5 that are playing like a full schedule, right? So they end up, so then they have to do additional work, right? Instead of just making it open thing. Like if we did it, I mean, let's be real. Like if we're talking about minorities, like how much different is this idea than saying, all right, you must pick one woman. You also must pick one black player, and
I mean, I think I think that's a bridge too far, and it's not really relevant. I mean, I agree with you. I don't think I don't think adding a slot for women in 25K like advances the cause of women in poker a great deal. I also think the people who are running this thing, they have to take into consideration the people who are actually playing, and that's totally fine. I don't think the argument is that, well, if you got to do it for women, you got to do it for black people too.
No, that's not their argument. It's my argument. It's my argument in that, okay, so here's the thing. It is an open draft. You can draft whoever you want, regardless of race, gender. This isn't something where women not allowed or whatever like that. There is no barrier for entry. But the bigger point I think you were bringing up too, Terrence, is this, and you sort of touched on it too, Adam, is like, if this was like the PPL, where contracts were being, divvied up and people were getting paid, I love the idea of like having a woman on there to give them opportunity. You don't get anything for being picked at all. You don't get any money. You just get picked in a draft. It's not like, opportunities being curbed in some way or shape or form. There's nothing being held back. Any woman, like there is going to be women, there's always women drafted. Maria usually will be drafted, but past that, I found, ultimately I wondered about this, and I spoke to a couple other women. I was like, is this patronizing, right? I would imagine some would think so. It's like, this is an open thing. Poker isn't a game where physical advantages play a role. So what are you saying here? That have to take a quote unquote less qualified player because of their gender? Like if I were a woman, and I know some women who agree with me, but they won't go public because they'll get attacked for it. But they feel like that would be sort of patronizing to them to some degree. To be like, oh, have your token woman who doesn't belong, but you're forced to pick it. It left a bad taste in my mouth. And again, some may disagree, but that's the way I viewed it.
Yeah. All right. So let's move on to the World Series itself. And, we've had this discussion about the World Series moving over from the Rio, RIP Rio, moving over to Bally's and Paris, and what that's going to do to the entry numbers. Well, there's going to be a lot more casual players jump in. And one of the things I think that, and I want to get your guys' opinion on this, is going to affect the numbers is the cryptocurrency and stock market exchange sort of quote unquote crashing and coming down to earth in the last little while. Where sort of the big guys with staking players, et cetera, or even casual players who are going to come out and play a bunch of events and sell off some Bitcoin to do so. How big of an effect, Terrence, do you think this is going to have on the main events and the other events itself?
Pretty big. I mean, it's not just crypto. It's just the markets in general have been just complete shit for 2022. Everybody's a little bit poorer this year than if we did this thing in January. If we did this thing in January, numbers would be pretty good. I think it will have a substantial impact, and I know you want to do a guessing pool later. Maybe I'm going to tip my hand, but yeah, the financial markets have always had a significant effect on the World Series. I think especially the main event, and yeah, I think just crypto tanking and the market's general tanking, it's going to have a significant impact. People were talking about this being the biggest World Series ever, which I think was a very possible thing before this most recent downturn. Who knows? Maybe we go on a bull run in the next, 3 weeks or something like that, 5 weeks, 8 weeks, into 7 weeks before the World Series, as Bitcoin doubles, and then maybe we do get a huge main event. But yeah, I will be taking the under on biggest World Series main event ever, specifically because there is a lot of pent up other demand, right? Like people, I know people want to travel, people want to do stuff. People who have been in lockdown for the better part of 2 years now really want to get out there and do stuff and live in the world. And God knows I'm one of those people too. But I think financial pressure always has an effect on the World Series.
So there's two things going on here, though. So as you mentioned with crypto, it's really weird that with crypto, it could literally double in a week. Like, it's that insane. Like, Bitcoin, boom, back to 50, back to 60. Like, that happens very, very quickly. The market's a completely different story, of course. I've heard a lot of people look at it from a different perspective. Of course, I agree with you that, people having less disposable income is going to hurt the numbers. But there are, all of a sudden, a group of players who had too much money who no longer do and have to get back to work and that's literally I've been hearing that in the high rollers, like a lot of guys who were just retired kind of.
What's the number of people who normally would not play like the 10K main event and are doing so because they need it?
But it's a small number, but that's where I was going to get to with my second point. When you talk about the main event, I think sort of a mistaken logic is the idea that the main event specifically will be hit by it, because the average Joe who plays the main event is not crypto savvy, and very few of them. Crypto is very prominent in the professional gaming world, professional gambling. But average John from Ohio, he hit the Bitcoin going up or down has no impact. The market probably does, right? But Bitcoin and crypto, I think that's something that you look at in the high buy-in events as being something that's, having a huge impact for both reasons. But the main event itself, I think it just caters to a different group of people. So I guess just how the economy is doing as a whole is like even more prevalent than specifically like the market or crypto for that.
Daniel, do you know, or Adam, maybe you, do you know what the breakdown of direct buy-ins versus satellites in the main event? Because I think the direct buy-ins probably won't be down huge, just because I think a lot of people play the main event, especially recreational, non-professional players. Like they're wealthy enough that $10,000 isn't a big deal. But what will probably really get affected is the satellite numbers. People who are willing to put up $1,000 and $500. Do you guys know the percentage off? You even have a ballpark number? Yeah, I think that's when you see a downswing in the main event numbers, it's probably just a smaller number of people getting through satellites.
Yeah. I don't know though, because then you do have online now, so they're running satellites online. You'll also have Michigan, which won't be part of the player pool, but they will be doing satellites for the main event. So there's other avenues and other ways you can do that. Obviously, with Club GG or on GG Poker, we'll be doing events where you can qualify. So I think I wonder. It's like, obviously we'll do our little fun little game here, but I don't know what's going to happen. I think it's going to be well attended, because like there's the other added aspect of for most people the pandemic is quote unquote over, and the stipulations and anything that held people back previously, whether it was the vaccine mandate, whether it was mask mandate, those things are currently lifted as of now. But I think that will be. I think that has a positive effect overall on the numbers.
You mentioned Club GG, Daniel. You guys are giving away seats again for the main event of the World Series. On the 29th, there's going to be a 5-seat satellite. That's Sunday, I believe. There's going to be so Club GG, you join $50 a month. You get access to all these satellites for big buy-in events, as well as some other perks. I don't know if you noticed, but the guy who won a seat on GG last year for Club GG, his name's Vasu Amarapu, I believe. He finished 13th. For about 500K last year. He won his way in again on Club GG. Even though he won 500K last year, he's grinding away on the Club GG to get his free team. Why wouldn't he?
Yeah. I have to correct you, because you said it was $50. It's actually even cheaper than that. it's $49.99.
Right.
So
Right.
So
Is there a
and
discount code to get it from $50 to $49.99?
for $49.99? So here's the deal: when you sign up, there's three tiers for those that want to know how you qualify. There's a stage one. You can enter stage ones as often as you want throughout the entire month for that $49.99. Qualify, in that you play a stage 2 sit and go. You win that sit and go, you make stage 3. Stage 3 is where the top 5 will all get a seat into the World Series of Poker main event. We're giving away over $200,000 a month now, I believe, in terms of total value. And I really don't think for low rollers you're gonna find a better way to get into the main event than on Club GG for $49.99. Okay, just got to clarify.
All right, so back to the World Series, the Player of the Year this year. Daniel, you're obviously got your head down. You're going to be going for that. A little bit of a different payoff. I think it's a 10K main event seat is for the Player of the Year. I know you don't do it for money, and it looks like maybe they lost a sponsor or something that sponsored that from last year. But again, it's not about the money. You're tipping your hat, I guess, a little bit before the 25K, but if you had to sort of guess on the main guys that you're going to be up against, playing as many events as you can to try and take a run at the Player of the Year contest, who would you consider as being your top competition?
Okay, so the 25K fantasy is a little bit different in terms of the way the point system works. So for actual World Series of Poker, for the Player of the Year, I genuinely believe that there's a 2-horse race at the top, and then there's a little bit of separation the rest of the way. So I'm one of those two, and the other one is that is constantly up there would be Sean Deeb. Okay, the last 2 Player of the Years I've come third, and I've also won it twice. But he's also in the last 4 or 5 years going to be up there, and he also plays he double dips. He plays these big field events, he just plays the entirety of it. He's selling pieces as well on Pocket Fives, so he can play the 100K and the 50K, some of those at no markup, so that he will be on a full schedule. So I would say as far as the 2 horses that are going to play a schedule that gives them the best chance for the most part, that would be me and Sean Deeb. Also because Sean is well versed in all the games. I think I have a little bit of an edge this year with the schedule simply because there is more big no limit stuff, and he doesn't play as much of that. But that's typically the guy that I look at as my main competition.
Terrence, if you were going and you were playing a full schedule of World Series events, I know you've never done it, but let's say for a second that you were, what would be more satisfying to you, winning the Player of the Year championship or winning your first bracelet?
So we have this theoretical thing where I finished second 8 times or something like that. Oh God, that would be hell. Yeah, I think. I mean, from a pure, if you're talking about no money at all, and there's no money from the situation from a pure happiness perspective.
No money.
I feel like winning 1 bracelet is probably better. It's funny because Daniel almost probably has the opposite opinion of this, but it would just be so. It would be so incredibly tilting because that would mean I would gone deep so many times, so many seconds and thirds and fourths and fifths. That would just I would just it's just so upsetting. I have to think. It feels weird, right? Because you would get so much more props for winning the Player of the Year if you finish if you had 7 seconds and 3/3 or some absurd thing like that, and without winning, you would get so much props and love from the poker community, and you'd feel really good about your all around game. Oh man, I crushed it in 7 different formats. But it would just feel so empty. That would be.
I mean, the last 2 years I came third. I didn't win a bracelet.
Right.
So I was right up there, almost, achieving that. Yeah.
So Terrence, what's your decision? What, are you going to win the Player of the Year with no victories, or are you going to win a bracelet?
I mean, if there's a no money thing,
poker bracelet.
I guess I take the bracelet just because I know that at the end of it I would be happier, right? Especially it probably, yeah. I mean, I don't know. It really depends. I mean, imagine the situation where you just win the no limit deuce or something like that, and then you just go 0 for 41 on everything else. You'd be buried in money.
Yeah.
So
the bracelet for Terrence, Daniel, you can win the Player of the Year with no bracelets, or you can win your 7th bracelet, maybe even your 8th. But let's say your 7th. You can win 1 bracelet and not win the Player of the Year. What's your desired outcome?
Well, I'm in a different place, right? Because my goal was to win it 3 times, and I did. I was after 2019. I won my 3rd.
Stop the steal.
I'm the only former 3-time World Series Poker Player of the Year champion. Okay, so yeah, so there was a point system error that I didn't win that one, but anyway, so I've won it twice, and I have set a goal of like I wanted to get to 3 before anybody else got to 2. So I would put that. So I won one in two. I won it in 2004. 9 years later, in 2013, and 9 years later is this year. So this is like I'm a winner, every 9-year guy. If that's the case, then this could be the year. But I would prefer doing both, obviously. And I think it's very difficult to win Player of the Year without winning a bracelet because the point system you essentially get double the points for first over second. So you would have to come up with 2 seconds to match 1 first. And we all know from a difficulty standpoint, it's way harder to get 2 seconds than it is 1 first. It's like it's astronomically. However, they wanted to make sure that the point system sort of, you didn't have a guy who won 3 bracelets or something and didn't win the Player of the Year because, people kept second, third, fourth, fifth. So it's not pure in the sense that the Player of the Year gives the award to the person who's like most deserving specifically, because like a lot of luck happens when you're 4 or 5 handed, and like who finishes first or second often comes down to like, a race or something like that. But I like the idea of putting wins up there so we don't have a weird stat line. Like I said, where a guy, he cashes 7 times, wins 3 bracelets, scores like 3,200 points, but loses to a guy who didn't win a bracelet.
Yeah, right.
I want to ask if you've been an advocate before when we talk about Player of the Year stuff too, in limiting the number of entries that count, so that just all of these min caches like end up counting for very little, and just giving people a chance, like the people who play like only 20 events. Back in my day, 20 events was like a lot to play at the World Series. Have the higher ups given any consideration for that, or have they largely ignored you on that part?
Yeah, I don't think they want to do that. Like, I definitely think that. So the good news is, they saw what happened in World Series Poker Europe. Razorov, I was vlogging it. It was a shit show. Me, Robert, and Sean, all in, blind, sitting at a PLO. Like, I was playing the 25K 8 game, okay, final table. And Alan Kessler actually alerted me, said, you should drop a stack in the PLO. I drop a stack in the PLO, go all in, blind, basically, double up, never play a hand, finish like 21st, get like 50, 60 points, right? And that just waters down the thing. So what happens is if you limited, say, to 12 or 15, right? If you already had 15 caches and your lowest cache was like a 70-point min cache or something, or a 50-point min cache, there's no incentive to just drop a stack for the sake of it, And I've sort of come around a lot on the need to really do that, and how taxing it is. Like, when you're spending all that time and energy on that, it takes away from you actually posting the kind of results you need to win Player of the Year, right? That's why I said like quality over quantity. Like, winning a couple, that puts you in contention. You're not going to win this thing like Chris Ferguson did one year by max late regging and going to the back of the line, and cashing 30, 40 times because, the European side doesn't count. You got to post like really good results. So with so many more short field events this year, I think that'll be easier to do. Like I said, we're going to see like almost double the number of events with less than 200 players because of all the high rollers, right? Those are not going to get over 200 people. Many of them will get under, like the 250K. That's going to get like 40, maybe 30, something in that neighborhood.
So the
real quick, sorry, before we leave this topic, I just want to say, like, so the top tier, because we never mentioned it, the top tier, you and Sean, who are some of the people in the second tier of Player of the Year, like guys can win it. I assume Helmuth has got to be one, but who else is in that group?
Not typically. He's done well, but he's not typically because he doesn't. He max late regges. He doesn't play like, he takes rest breaks. So he doesn't grind it the same way. He, at his age, I guess he takes some time off. There's some others, of course, like depending on if they're going to like grind or not. A guy like Paul Volpe is someone who, would be up there. But I think, again, I do think that the person you look at up to this year as being the most likely to win it has completely changed now, because there's a whole new group of Nikita Badzikowski, Michael Adamo, these types of players who just play the high rollers. They now have a schedule where they're going to have like 15, 20 events to play, and they could easily win 2 or 3 of those. Like, that's not crazy to think. Like, in these small field events, you could win 3, and that would put you in contention, no question.
Yeah, it used to be the small fields were the 10K mixed games, but now that the buy-ins have gotten so high in the no limit and the PLO stuff,
that's why a player that like myself who plays both of those, value goes even higher.
Yeah, and getting back a little bit to the 25K, you know, a lot of players are out there announcing, you know, being nice about it, right? Hey, I'm probably not going to be playing. I saw Chris Fitch, Death Donkey, tweet that he's not going to play this year. Terrence, you've said that you're not playing. You haven't played a lot for a while, but you know, this kind of thing.
I was gonna play like 9 events this year. Like, but you know, stuff.
But yeah, no, people are out there, so do your research. Daniel, the other quick question on 25K, you sent out a tweet about specific 2 players not being eligible. This isn't based on sex. This is based on their current respect level in the poker world, and maybe they shouldn't be included in the 25K. Where did you land on that?
So I brought it up just to throw it out there and see what people thought. Because here's the thing, right? Like, we're obviously talking about Jake and Ali, which were the 2 guys that were, you know, potentially whatever. And the thing is like, what I was thinking from a competitive perspective, some people in the draft are going to be way more willing to have them on their team, and they might be really good horses, where others are like, fuck that. You know, I don't want these guys on my team, right? So I thought maybe, like, implicitly it might be best to just say, you know, let's just not have them. Sean Deeb and others brought up points about, well, there's other names too. So then it becomes a slippery slope of, you know, again, the same issue we've had with in terms of a blacklist or anything like that. It's a slippery slope when you start down that road. So I decided, okay, make it open. You can draft whoever the hell you want. And I don't know what's more pure than that. Just let them pick whoever you want. I mean, I don't buy the argument. And this is sort of going back to the gender thing. I don't buy the argument that getting drafted in this league like leads to any sort of, you know, opportunity. You know, it might be cool for you to be drafted and feel good, you know, but like if you play a big schedule and you're worthy of being drafted, there is no barrier. You know, there's no one's gonna like keep you out if they think you're a good, you know, a good value pick.
I don't know if you guys noticed, but Eugene Kashlov is going to be at the World Series playing some events and
selling a package too.
Yeah, in the grand scheme of things, from where he's come for the last couple of months, of course, being in Ukraine, live blogging his fleeing from the war, you know, to be able to come to the World Series. Obviously, he's a man of means and can do that. But really, really awesome that that member of the community is going to be at the World Series and playing, and he's okay to do so.
I wanted to add on Eugene's package. He is putting up this package on Pocket Fives. He's a very good buy, I promise. Now, you're going to look at the markup and think it's a little bit high at 1.5. He's donating all the markup to to charities to help out with what's going on over there. So that I've actually considered doing that myself, because I think what's happened a little bit is, you know, I post on Pocket Fives with no markup, and then other people are like, why the hell would I post there? Because, you know, I'm going to charge 1.4 and Daniel's charging nothing. It doesn't leave you a lot of backers or whatever. So I've been asked actually to put a markup on there and just donate that to charity. And I think maybe in future years I might take that up, because it's probably a good way to raise some money, and, you know, why not?
All right. So we've mentioned it a couple times, Terrence. You hinted at it. We've got the main event. I know, Daniel, it's going to be tough to get you. Well, the live vlogs are back, right? So you're going to do daily vlogs from the World Series like you've been doing every year. Poor Christian's going to be up till God knows what every night. Is it Christian that's doing the editing?
Well, yeah. Christian works with a team in Korea. You know, there's a team in GG, like a GG team. So it works perfectly because, you know, I get done around 2 o'clock in the morning or so. You know, I upload all the stuff to the Dropbox. 2 a.m. our time is daytime over in Korea. So they're in the office. They edit. Christian will wake up 7 o'clock in the morning, take a look at it, make sure it's all clean and good, adds the music. He posts it up at 10 a.m. while I'm out. So I will say this, 99% of the tweets that I send in my life are me, and 1% is Christian. You know, so sometimes you might see something worded a little weird. I'm like, I wouldn't have said that. You know, kind of like what happened to Johnny Depp's phone, when one of those texts was somebody else that he loaned his phone to, but it didn't match his tone because he doesn't have that kind of hubris. You guys don't know what I'm talking about, but for those that have been watching the trial, you know which text I'm talking about. You know, so those ones are fake news.
So can we have? Are we getting Chainsaw Corner? We've got somebody else, maybe a Matusow Corner. What do we got going?
No. I do the Chainsaw Corner because it's fun. People are interested. I tried to do it with Matusow in the room, and he just won't shut the fuck up. Like, I'm talking to Alan, I'm asking Alan stuff, and Mike Matusow just keeps going on. I went on his podcast the other day, or last week or something. I went on Matusow's podcast, and like he was blaming me for my like computer issues, but I'm like, my computer's fine. As you can see, I'm on Zoom here with you guys, no issues. But anyway, it kept cutting out. But it ended up just being like a fucking poker lesson. He just wanted to ask me about a bunch of hands. I was like, and he's like, you got to teach me this GTO stuff. I'm like,
Oh,
you think I can just like, it's so much more complex than that. I sent him one video. So for those that are interested in these are actually quite good. I believe it's called GTO-X, and you can find them on YouTube. Like they have a channel, and they'll break down, for example, a hand that Michael, or a lot of, they're working a lot of Michael Adamo's hands that he's played. And what they'll do is they'll run through the hand, and they'll run it through you, and they'll show you the solves as you go, and they show you like in real depth, like how much this is worth in value, how much is this mistake going to cost you, like all these types of things throughout the hand, and really sort of expose a lot of people who I don't think understand. I think for like a totally new player to this stuff, it's still over your head. But if you're sort of understanding it a little bit, these videos in small chunks. I've been watching a lot of the Adamo stuff because I find he's a beastly animal that uses solvers differently than every other person in the world.
interesting. Yeah, let's put a link down in the description, Ross, to that channel so people can check that out. All right, let's do a pool. Who's in for a $100 pool for guessing the main event of the World Series entrance? Anybody? You guys up for that?
I'm in.
Okay.
That's cool. Well, I guess the thing is we have to do like some sort of simultaneous reveal, right? Otherwise, position matters.
Yeah.
Or do you have a system to deal with this?
How about in the show doc, everybody write down their don't look, or I don't know. No, just we're honor system. I know how.
Okay, honor system. I have my number locked in anyway.
I have my number too. So, Roscoe, do you have a number in your head? Are you in for the 100? Are you in for the game?
Yeah, I'm in for the game.
Okay, so this is Canadian dollars, and
why are we betting Canadian? Does Daniel even have 100 Canadian dollars? Like any? Yeah, like why are we betting Canadian dollars?
We're Canadians. 4 of us.
What are we trying to get? Like a CRTC like deal?
What we should do is like a percentage of a Bitcoin, and that way we don't even know what we're playing.
Yeah, there we go. We'll do that.
That's true. How many Bitcoins is close enough to $100?
So like $100 with a Bitcoin right now. That's what we should look for.
Let's do that. We all have. I'm assuming we all have 100.
Then all of a sudden we're gonna have like maybe $5,000 in the line.
All right, it's 0.0033. I'll put it in the show doc. It's pretty much 0.0033 though right now.
Okay, Roscoe, what's your wager on how many 10K main event entrants there will be?
Well, I was trying to do some quick research.
No, don't do that.
Okay.
I will guess 8,500.
8,500.
Big.
Terrence, what's your number?
I'm going probably bigger than you guys would have thought. I'm going 79.79
79.
because it's just a fun number.
Adam is going to go 7111.
Ooh.
I'm fucked. My number's fucked.
You're not supposed to look at the numbers. You're supposed to have the number.
Did I not you?
No, my number's I have 8424. And this fucking guy's 8,500, right?
Oh wow, yeah, you're fucked. I mean, you can still win on the back end. You can win on the back end.
You got a lot of room in the back end. You got
right. It's closest to.
Yeah, it's closest to. It's not Price is Right.
Price is Right. I don't go one.
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
No. You got a lot of room on the downside.
You got the spot between me and you. Like you got like 8,200 ish and above, and I got below that.
I'll take that.
I got a pretty wide one actually, because there's a big gap between me and Adam.
Yeah, there is. I've got the less than 1,000 locked up.
Yeah, you've got the under. You've got crypto going to 10K.
Here's the problem for Adam, right? If Adam wins this bet, it's going to be even more worthless than it is now. Because,
that's true.
Right?
That's true.
Like, he's going to win because only 5,000 people show up because Bitcoin's worth nothing.
That's a good point. Yeah, that's true. The high bids are kind of like a parlay.
Before we leave the World Series of Poker, a couple of things, we talk about tips. Kev Math is now handling the Twitter account for the World Series of Poker. Thank God. He jumps on there every year, and follow it if you don't and you're a poker player, because you'll get endless amounts of information from the czar of information, Mr. Kevin Mathers. He did tweet parking at the World Series of Poker, because obviously it's in the Strip now. You know, the Rio was great for parking. You pull in, you're always getting a spot, no problem. And now that we're moving to the Strip, maybe it's a little more difficult. There's 8,000 parking slots available between Paris and Bally's, he tweets. Players can get a discounted 7-day pass for $100 available at the main the main World Series of Poker cage. So that's a pretty good deal, because what's that, 12, 14 bucks, whatever it is.
wouldn't say good deal.
Well, comparatively, yeah. Remember before when it was valet, you just tip a
Like,
guy $5?
Free is a good deal.
Free's a good deal, yeah.
This
Free's
deal
not.
is like, I'll let you keep. I'll only take 5K from
What's
you.
the valet gonna look like on like a big day two?
Oh,
Right?
okay, yeah,
Like,
yeah.
like what day two of the main event look like? Valet look like? Holy!
I would
shit.
imagine it's a big mistake to park valet.
Yeah.
I
I,
mean, it's just a big mistake to park there. You probably
Isn't
just
that
park
hack?
like some other property and walk.
Yeah, isn't the hack the North Valet at the Bellagio and walk across?
I think you're going to see. So here's the deal, right? I think for people that are staying on the strip, this is going to be great for them because they can just take a tram, they can walk over
Yeah.
there, whatever. It's the locals who had that really nice big parking lot that drive in and out where they're going to be the most affected. So I think the good news for the locals is they're going to figure out the outs, right? You could park at Crystal's over at Aria. You could park it because Aria is just the same walk across the street to Paris. It's directly across, right? So depending where you're playing, I could see some people parking in those spots, Aria Valet, whatever the case may be, and do the walk over. The only issue is it is Vegas. If you're walking over at noon, it'll be about 108, maybe 112 degrees.
Yeah.
So bring an umbrella or whatever. I don't know, but it's a short walk outside, I think. And but yeah, I mean, listen, there will be enough parking. Just question is how far that will be away from the building.
I looked through the replies to that tweet. People were asking about, Diamond Club status, and apparently there is free parking for the VIP members, but it's not free valet.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, you can do Diamond in a day and all the stuff that you've done because it's a Harris property. So yeah, follow up on
I mean,
that.
like it might be worth DGen gambling, like you said.
Yeah.
Just DGen gamble at craps or something that's like super like neutral, and just gamble and like get your number up, and then you save like $700 on parking throughout the whole series.
Well, the guy to ask for that would be Chainsaw. We should have
Chainsaw would have,
for him.
he would know. He would know to the penny what you'd be spending.
Exactly.
I have to retell this Chainsaw story for anyone who doesn't know this happened. But Chainsaw literally did this. This is a guy who's got plenty of money. There used to be a thing at the World Series where you buy your entry fee to the tournament. So he'd buy into the $1,500 Omaha 8, and they give you a food voucher, $10 worth of food voucher, right? So what Alan Kessler would do is he'd go get the food voucher. Then he would unregister for the event, keep the food voucher, register again the next day, get another food voucher. So he's playing in the event, got 2 fucking food vouchers in hand, squeezing every nickel out of that place.
That's why he has all the money, because
Yeah.
he's doing that stuff.
I thought it was bad when like me and my friends had a food voucher party at the end of like our World Series where we just like, we took all the food vouchers we didn't spend and we just go. And the thing is that when you're at the Rio, there's no expensive place that you can blow this on. There's nowhere to just like get like lobster. And, so we would just go into like the steakhouse and we would just order like too much steak, which you can't really eat that much of.
I will say I have, when as a teenager, we were always looking for every scam we could because we don't have money. So we used to go like right across from our junior high, Zion Heights, was a McDonald's there. And we pulled this scam way too often. I'm surprised it still worked. Like we'd order a Big Mac, right? I'd eat like almost the entire Big Mac and leave like, a small piece and put some hair in it. Take it back and be like, there's a hair in my Big Mac. So they literally have to give you another Big Mac. That's like they have no choice. So you get another Big Mac. And then, we would like do that like 3-4 times a week. And they didn't like
the reason it works is because nobody cares. The guy in there making $3.50 an hour does not give a shit whether your burger's free or not.
So nice little scam. For those of you that live in places where McDonald's is prevalent, go ahead and try the hair trick. It's going to work for you.
Nice.
As long as there's no cameras now. People like videotape you taking hairs out and stick them in. You got to be subtle.
You're going to get canceled.
You got to be.
McDonald's canceled.
Go to jail for a hair and a burger.
You might want to get canceled from McDonald's. That'd be healthy.
Yeah, it's probably the best thing.
Best thing for you.
All right, so that's the World Series talk. We've got an exciting.
I got one more before we go there.
Go.
This happened to me as a teenager too. Went to a Burger King. Okay, this guy gave me money, right? He owed me. I went to the Burger King, and it was American, but it was in Canada, Bathurst and Steeles. I went to the Burger King and I ordered a Burger King, and he said, "We'll be right back. Just 1 second." Right? They come back. Police comes.
What?
That 21 real. That was a counterfeit 20. And I was like, I don't know. And they're like, who'd you get it from? I'm like, shit, do I need to rat these guys out? Or are they fucking pulling a scam? I don't know what's going on.
Wow.
I'm a teenager. So I had to do the whole full police report, and the whole spiel. It was like, yeah, it was a big old mess.
Nice.
That's why you
yeah.
stay with fast food points. You just go to jail.
How many run-ins have you had with Toronto police?
Well, that was my biggest one, really.
I remember you told us the story about getting pulled off the plane, so that's 2.
Oh, that was 2. Then there was another one. I was like 14 years old, and we were like doing bad things, me and my friends. I'll tell you what we did, okay? Fuck it. I was 14 years old, okay? Fuck it. You're a kid. You do dumb shit. So when I was a kid in school, like all my friends were, well, I didn't really have any white friends. All my friends were black. Many of them Jamaican. There was like about 15, 20 of us. We'd go to a mall, right? And they would tell me like what they wanted, okay, at the mall. They would all go to one side of the store, right? All the floor walkers, like, watching to see who's stealing. They go see what they're doing. I go to the other side, just literally grab it and put it in a bag and just walk out the fucking store. And then I'd give them their shit later, as we were 13, 14. That was our scam. Let the skinny little white kid steal all the shit for us.
And you got
all right.
13, 14 years old. You didn't do shit like that? I mean, I don't know. We just grew up different, I guess.
I stole a chocolate bar or 2. I think that's the extent.
I did that too when I was a kid. One more while we're on it. This one girl, my first girlfriend, Lisa Perry or whatever. We're at a Shoppers Drug Mart, and she's like, wants the Skittles. And she said, grab the Skittles for me. So I'm like, fuck it. I grabbed the Skittles. I took the Skittles. We stole the Skittles. The next day, I get a call from her mother saying, we're on the line right now. Lisa, go ahead and tell him. She's like, I have to break up with you, Daniel. I'm like, what the fuck? You told me to steal the Skittles. Like, she told me to steal the Skittles. I stole the Skittles for her. She went and told her mother that they stole Skittles, and then I am the one who got fucked over because we were like in the 5th grade at the time.
Mom did you a
that
favor.
seemed right.
Mom did you a
She's the
favor.
one that's supposed to be grounded. How the hell am I like the bad guy here? I'm like Adam and Eve. I just was like, okay, fuck it. I don't know. I'll eat the apple. What do you want?
You dodged the bullet.
Yeah, I was like, I don't see the alternate universe where Daniel and Lisa are married. It's probably not working out so well for that, Daniel.
I did see her last time we went to Toronto. First time in like, I don't know, 30, 40 years.
Did she remember the story?
Yeah, I reminded her.
Awesome. All right, World Series coming up. 5 days away. We're excited. We're pumped. We're going to be following along.
Not me. Fuck the World Series.
Yeah, you are. You're only the bad things. We've fallen a bit behind with high stakes poker and some of the episodes. We did follow them early. I picked out 2 hands, and I don't know if you guys have some time. I know, Daniel, you've broken down the 9-9 hand a lot. You've done a video and stuff, so maybe we don't have to do that one. But there was one earlier that you triple barreled Garrett Adelstein that I thought was interesting. I've got the hand history there. Do you guys want to quickly run through this?
I did a video on that one too, FYI.
Oh, okay, good. Well, I didn't see. I saw the 9-9 video. I didn't see this one. So why don't we run through this one? You guys are playing 500 to 1,000. And Gentili opens under the gun with the Jack-7 of spades to 3K. Garrett Adelstein sitting on 571,000 with the 9-10 of diamonds. He 3-bets to 11,000. Daniel, you have $372,000 stack with the ace-queen off. You 4-bet to 27,000. Everybody folds. Garrett calls. We go to the flop. Of the pot is 60,000. The flop comes king of clubs, 9 of clubs, 4 of spades. Again, Garrett has the 9-10 of clubs, so he flops middle pair. Or sorry, the 9-10 of diamonds, he flops middle pair. Daniel, you flop absolutely nothing with the ace-queen off, no club. So again, king 9-4. Garrett checks. You bet 20 into 60. Garrett calls. Pretty standard so far, yeah?
Yep.
Ish, yeah.
Yeah, well, we'll just get to the end.
So the turn is, there's 100,000 in the pot on the turn. The turn comes the 7 of diamonds, so it doesn't complete anything. Garrett checks. Daniel, you decide to bet half pot here. You bet 50,000, and Garrett sort of tank calls. So maybe we could talk about this one here, where sometimes you're going to check.
Well, yeah, I mean, I was going to go over the entire hand because there's a lot before that.
Okay, why don't we do that? Let's do that.
All right, so I'll just so basically, the important things pre-flop to see here was, in terms of what was happening, was every time Jennifer opened, Garrett was 3-betting. He was 3-betting to isolate. This is what he's going to do. He's super deep. He sees Jennifer with a big stack. He doesn't really care as much what his holding is. He's just trying to play in position against her. So he's going to be 3-betting a lot. So when you're sitting next to that player and you pick up this game dynamic that's happening, that opens you up to start 4-betting more frequently, right? Ace-queen offsuit. Now, In a normal situation, especially old school, that's a hand you just fold to a 3-bet. You don't even play. But because of the game dynamic, now it becomes like a pretty profitable 4-bet, right? So I 4-bet pretty small, expecting full well that he's going to call. You know, I was not 4-betting with like, oh, I'm going to win this one pre-flop. That was not happening, right? I was using when you make 4-bets, like they're such polarizing bets that they don't need to be all that big, typically. So I make the 4-bet small, folds around to him, he calls. Now, as you mentioned, I completely whiffed on this flop, but as played, you know, we talk about this a lot in the video or whatever, is you have to ask yourself, who's this flop better for in terms of your range? I have ace king, right? I have aces, I have kings, maybe some king queen. He's going to have a much wider range that, like I said, open 3-bets and then still calls a small 4-bet. So overall, it's a good flop for me to bet. And in these spots, you're going to bet a very high percentage of the time, and you're going to bet small. So, you know, you're going to bet anywhere from quarter pot to third pot. I chose third pot. The turn card is a 7 after he calls. He checks. And in this spot, I feel like I'm usually going to use either half pot or full pot, and sometimes 1.5. But I elected to keep. I didn't want to polarize my range that much, right? So if I'm doing 2x pot, I'm saying like I can beat a king, basically, right? But for half pot, you know, there's a lot more value stuff that I could be representing there. So he calls again. And the river card is a blank. The only added draw the turn brought was if he had specifically 10 jack, because now he would have a double gutter on the king 9-7. And on that river, when he checks, you have to ask yourself the following question. All right. What do I value bet here? Okay. What are my bluffs? Do I have any? You have to have bluffs in every spot, right? So my specific holding blocks king queen suited. Most importantly, I don't have a club in my hand. And that's the good thing. You know, this is one of the things when you play with solvers, you start to learn the whys behind things. So if I had the ace of clubs or the queen of clubs, it makes it less likely that he was drawing to a flush and more likely that he has a king, correct? So because I don't have a club, if I had the ace of clubs or the queen of clubs, I cut out a whole bunch of hands that are folding to my bet on the river. The other issue I have to factor in is, do I have any showdown value with this hand? And you do, right? Because ace queen will beat, you know, an ace high flush draw or queen jack suited or 10, you know, something like that. But overall, I felt like this was a good hand to add to my, you know, like bluffing range here. And I think I incorrectly assessed what he would do, because I was expecting him to fold a king some of the time.
Wow.
I thought he would fold jacks. I thought he would fold 10s, which are both reasonable hands for him to have there. But I thought he might actually fold a king for me against this line, because I'm not going to show up with many bluffs after 4-betting bet. It's a very strong line to take. But he tanked forever with a 9. So, and he folded finally after my 175, almost a full pot size bet. He tanked for a very long time and folded, which lets me know that my play wasn't good in the sense of like, he probably would have called much quicker with a king. And that's one of the hands that I was trying to bluff out. But I remember playing the hand and thinking like, old me would have been like, fuck, don't punt this off, right? But new me just saying, you know what? If he has it, this is the cooler. And I actually learned that, ironically, talking to Doug Polk about a spot or listening to him on a video. You know, I was talking about coolers. And we've always thought of coolers like, I have top set, you have middle set, right? Like that's a standard cooler. Another way to define cooler, though, is like you have the perfect bluff candidate. Like the absolute perfect cards to bluff with, and the other guy has the nuts. Like that's also a cooler, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. So if he would have just had it there, I would have been fine with it. I would have shrugged and been like, oh well, nice hand.
How light? Like, what's the lightest you would expect Garrett to show up with after he 3-bets Jen? And like you mentioned that he seemed to be 3-betting Jen really wide, but he actually has a very good hand here. This is a hand that he might 3-bet like kind of anybody with and call a raise. How wide? Like, what's the weakest you would expect him to show up here? Like, you know, what's the full distribution of hands that he might have? Kind of what's the
like,
weakest?
I wouldn't put past him having a hand as weak as like Jack 10 offsuit, like 8, maybe even 8-10 off, 9-10 off, 8-9.
So he was really going after her.
I mean, if you watch even the hands that they showed, but in addition to that, like this is one of the things about poker you got to learn is like you don't have a HUD in front of you, but you can pay attention to trends and you can say to yourself, all right, this is like, okay, maybe somebody just getting a lot of good hands, but after a while you're like, yeah, that's probably not possible that you have a fucking like actual 3-betting hand every single time she opens, right? So you start to like use limited information to change the way that you play. And that's one of the things I think that sometimes people that are what I call slave to the Sims, that focus on solvers and whatever the output says, this is the correct play. Understanding game dynamics, like there is a way to do what's called node locking and, change things, but most people don't do that kind of work. They're just going to look at what, I was actually talking to Landon Tice about this, ironically, recently. Sort of made fun of him a little bit, jokingly, about a hand he played against Darren Elias in the heads-up tournament where he 5-bet jammed with ace-5 suited, right? Which is the thing, right? This is the thing. This is like how you balance your bluffs. And just sort of having that conversation with him about how that's a mistake against most people, because most people's 4-betting range is not going to be GTO either. So when they 4-bet you, you're not running into a balanced 4-betting range, which means they're way too value heavy, which means your ace-5 suited is a punt, right? So same kind of idea behind
Conversely, there are some people who might be there's probably less of them. There's some people maybe 4-bet too bluff heavy. I've been 4-bet in the World Series main event by like 7-6 suited. Like that's not in the range. Like
I was specifically speaking about heads up.
Yeah.
Like they were playing heads up in a tournament, right? In the 25K tournament.
Mm-hmm.
And you just see a very low percentage of 4-bets. You see like a 4-betting range that is GTO is right around 8 to 9%. That's pretty low, percentage to 4-bet. And that's like a balanced GTO one, right? So yeah, most people don't 4-bet very often heads up.
Danny, what about that sizing on the river to finish off the 3-barrel there? 200K in the pot on the river. You picked 175. What are your betting options there, do you think?
Well, yeah, half pot again, right? Full pot, or I think jamming with my hand is probably not the best option, but maybe it is, because like the question is like what hands could I overbet there? And the hands to overbet there would be like, pocket nines. Like pocket nines is really the only candidate that can overbet. So maybe the one hand that I would overbet with there is 8-9 suited or like 9-10, right? Because you want to block him from having the nines too, right? Yeah, so he probably doesn't have kings. He could, right? But I think the most important card for so that's the thing. You're trying to think like, what are you trying to target, right? If I'm betting a really, really big size, what is my value? Okay, set of nines. We discovered that. We've talked about that. Probably not 3 kings because you block the hands that can call, right? So the nines is better to have than the kings in that situation. But then you have to ask yourself, okay, so, if I'm going to have this overbet, what is going to be my overbet bluff? You have to have one. And that's probably just the 9. But that 9 is targeting getting a king out, right? My bet was actually, like I said, I thought it would move 10s, jacks for sure. And I thought there was a chance that, if he had like king 10 suited, that he may actually fold. And again, like I said, in retrospect, considering how long he took with just the 9, like he really, considering like it was the first 4-bet I've made in the fucking show ever, but he was on the ball, he knew. See, that's the good thing about a guy like Garrett. He's really smart. He knows the dynamic too. He knows he's 3-betting Jen every time, right? So he knows that if I'm smart and then I'm going to start 4-betting more with bullshit. So he can, adjust.
He's higher up his range than he's supposed to be by just having a 9, basically, by just having second pair. Like he's higher up than he's supposed to be.
Right, and he can actually change the way that he views my range based on the game dynamic. If it was like the first hand, if it wasn't Gentili, if it was Phil Ivey, and I'm 4-betting there, like I'm going to be much stronger than I am going to be when it's Tilly opening splashy, Garrett opening splashy. Now, I'm going to open up my 4-betting range.
Fantastic season of high stakes poker. If you haven't caught up, head on over to PokerGo. It's just the best format. It's fantastic, and all kinds of great episodes, all kinds of great hands were played. Check those out. Quickly, we were talking about women playing the World Series. What's Jen Harmon going to do? Is she going to play a bunch of events this year?
So for those that don't know, Jen she's had 2 kidney transplants in her life, and people that have had kidney transplants are incredibly high risk. Even, she's like, there was a point where she's been back, 28% death rate among people, with kidney failure is really, really high. Wow. So she's been very, very, she hasn't gone indoors in anything. Like if they go to dinner, they'll go outside and something. I don't know if she'll feel comfortable. Like the numbers are back up. We've had like a 50% increase in the last week here, obviously mild for most people, but when you're in her shoes, I would imagine, that means she already doesn't play a full schedule at the World Series of Poker. But, I think she wants to play a few events. So maybe she'll play the Deuce to 7 single draw and maybe the 50K or something. But I don't think you'll see her there. I don't think she's a good fantasy pick. Put it to that.
If I was gonna say if there's a woman other than Maria Ho that you'd love to draft for $1, would you be willing to say that, or do you want to keep that to yourself?
I'm gonna look and see if I have any on my list because I have my list in front of me. I've obviously do my work and put groups and. So yeah, I mean the person that I would have chosen, right? And I will share this. The woman that I would have chosen without question would have been Kristen Bicknell.
Right, but she's Canadian,
but
so she won't play.
If she gets, her paperwork and all that stuff, when that happens and she's able to play, she's somebody who will be playing, the same stakes as Alex in terms of the high rollers. Yeah. She's very, very good as well. So she would be the choice that I make. Vanessa Selps, of course, doesn't play anymore. Neither does Vanessa Russo. So yeah, the only one I could think of was Maria Ho, who plays, the mixed games, and then Kristen Bicknell, who's, a very accomplished high stakes no limit player.
The reason I mentioned Jen is she's got to have a little smile on her face, I would think, because the person who slow rolled her, famously slow rolled her, Corey Seidman, turns out he's a scumbag, and he was
no kidding.
Yeah, shocking, right? We had no idea. He was ripping people off to the tune of $25 million over a 15-year period. He was stealing from people and scamming them. He's been arrested, and he will.
Well, yeah, I mean, we should probably be more clear on exactly what he was doing because it's like it's certainly a scam. And I don't know if it directly correlates to stealing per se, but probably. I think it's certainly fraudulent. Like he was getting people to put their life savings and putting all their money into this. Like he's got inside scoop on sports betting. Like one of these touts kind of thing.
Yeah.
He's just, taking all their money. I don't know the details past that, but none of that's surprising to me. I remember this is the reason I never got involved with Ultimate Bet in the first place was Russ Hamilton. He used to steal from old ladies in Florida, like jewelry scams and things like that. So I was going to work with Ultimate Bet. And literally before I signed the deal with them, I was informed that Russ Hamilton was a part owner. And I was like, I'll pass.
Yeah.
That's literally what happened. Like I literally was going to work with them. They developed my first website, fullcontactpoker.com. I was going to work with them, affiliate. And then I heard Russ was involved. And I was like, I mean, his reputation preceded him, which was really surprising to me because here's the thing. He's a good con artist, right? You look at classy people in the industry like Linda Johnson and Jan Fisher. They were friends with Russ. Like Russ was a welcome sight, in the community, and he was like, just golf hustling, diamond stealing, like ghost cheating. I don't know. I should have Johnny Depp write that one for me because he's so good at that.
Nice. All right. I think that's going to wrap it up for the show. Tight hour. Try and keep it to a tight hour. Daniel, great luck in the World Series coming up. Please run good. Take down the main event the player of the year. Well, the main event obviously, but the player of the year is the main goal. So take that down, pick up a bracelet or two, and we'll watch from a side and continue to do some podcasts here and keep everybody.
Oh, one more thing. Sorry, before we finish, because I wanted to mention just real quickly. We run this event now since 2013, St. Jude. We just had our charity event this weekend on Saturday. We crushed it again. We raised over $400,000. Matthew Barnaby, you guys know. He showed up. He was sitting there with me. In addition to that, there's another guy here in town. He does a lot of comedy events. He's the ring announcer at the games. His name's Mark Shunock, and he does a thing called Mondays After Dark. After this podcast, I'm actually headed down there to do a poker lesson for charity. Raises a lot of money by getting performers from the city, to just perform there for free, and raises money for charity. And they also do some comedy shows and stuff like that. So once again, poker's a great avenue for raising a lot of money for a lot of good causes. There's that. There's the Eugene package. There's a lot of opportunities to do good. And, who was it? I think it was Philip Grusom once said his secret to running good was giving.
Nice.
There
you go. All right. We'll end it on that. Good luck to everybody out there who's going to the World Series. Have a lot of fun. Enjoy yourself. And we will talk to you soon.
Yeah.
Oh, boy. I'm going to get canceled for being a 13-year-old thief.